Mae West was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1893. From an early age, she knew she was destined to become something far greater than another Victorian housewife. She lived her life to the fullest. She wasn't afraid to go against the grain and challenge what she saw as outdated views of what it meant to be a woman. In her films, plays, and stage performances, she openly celebrated her feminine sexuality. This made her one of the most controversial and censored stars of her day. In 1926, she notoriously ended up getting arrested and later jailed for 10 days for, quote, corrupting the morals of youth, not long after the premiere of her provocative Broadway show called Sex, which she wrote, produced, directed, and starred in. Like all areas of her life, West's approach to her love life was similarly free-spirited. She was only married once, but she dated countless men throughout her 7-decade-spanning acting career. The majority of them were significantly younger than her. In this video, we'll take a look back at Mae West's prolific life and career in the spotlight. West was an early starter. West started acting when she was a curly-haired 5-year-old. She was a diva from the beginning who desperately craved fame. She later admitted that even as a child, she refused to leave the house unless she wore her fanciest dress. Right out of the gate, she was addicted to her own appearance. After entertaining a crowd at a church social, West began appearing in amateur shows at age 7. She frequently won prizes at local talent competitions, which only added to her ever-growing ego. By the time she was in 3rd grade, West had already been given a taste of fame. She ended up dropping out of school and spent several weeks at a dance academy. Soon enough, amateur shows turned into a stint at the Gotham Theater. Just as West had had an early start acting, she also started early when it came to exploring the nuances of the birds and the bees. Reportedly, West once claimed she was determined to lose her virginity before she hit puberty so she wouldn't have to worry about winding up pregnant. This led to her sleeping with her 21-year-old musical teacher at age 13. Evidently, she told him it wasn't a big deal because she had already done it once before. West's lax attitudes towards sex would ultimately become one of her most defining traits, so much so that any attempt at tamping it down would end up in disaster. Whenever Mae's mother would notice she was spending what she saw as too much time with a boy, she'd encourage her to move on. While this advice was probably well-intentioned, it backfired. After West fell for a band leader named Joseph Schenck, her mom told her she needed to keep her options open. So Mae dated every other member of the band, one after another. West could never keep a boyfriend for more than a week or so. She was much too preoccupied with her budding acting career. At least she did her best to not allow even the most passionate of teenage romances to distract her, at least at first. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. West's marriage to Frank Wallace. By the time Mae West was 17, she was established in the vaudeville scene. She was also incredibly difficult to impress. Then one day, she noticed a young man named Frank Wallace was consistently getting more applause than her. So after he approached her and proposed they do an act together, she eagerly agreed. Considering her reputation, Wallace was a bit surprised when he found out West didn't seem interested in his advances. She seemed intent on not mixing business with pleasure. They'd rehearsed their lines together and eventually performed on stage, but every time Wallace would propose, she'd turn him down. Wallace didn't think too much about this and took it in stride, but one night West surprised him by leaping into his arms. From that moment on, it was business and pleasure. And unlike all of her previous flings, West didn't dump him as soon as they celebrated their 1-month anniversary. West and Wallace proceeded to fall madly in love while on their 10-week tour together, or at least that's how Frank saw it. Pretty soon, however, West went back to rejecting him after rehearsals. To add insult to injury, she started hooking up with other actors and fans, presumably to make him jealous. Despite her mind games, Wallace stuck around, and in 1911 his persistence paid off when West agreed to marry him. The two eloped in Milwaukee, but what Frank probably thought would be the beginning of happily ever after turned into something he hadn't anticipated. Apparently, the act of getting married killed any romantic feelings West had for Wallace. She later admitted to getting a separate hotel room on the night of their elopement. After leaving Milwaukee, West and Wallace went to St. Paul and then Minneapolis. Around midnight every evening, West would leave their room and lock Wallace inside. Frank later learned from other vaudevillians she was going out on dates with locals. Needless to say, their marriage was doomed from the start. West eventually got rid of Wallace by sending him away in another show. She kept her marriage a secret until 1935, when a filing clerk discovered the marriage certificate and alerted the press. West denied ever marrying Wallace until July 1937, when she was finally forced to acknowledge their marriage in response to a legal filing. She obtained a legal divorce in 1942. West's lesser romances. Mae West was once quoted as saying that while marriage was a great institution, she wasn't ready for an institution. Somewhat ironically, she said this while she was still secretly married to Wallace. But it does sum up her feelings on the topic. West never married again, but she did have a number of noteworthy relationships, affairs, and flings, many with men younger than she was. In 1913, she struck up a relationship with Italian-born vaudeville headliner and musician Guido Darrow. Darrow was 3 years her junior. Some speculated the two may have gotten married in 1914, but there isn't any solid evidence of this. Even if it were true, it wouldn't have been legally binding since she was still married to Wallace at the time. After becoming pregnant with Darrow's child, West took her mother's advice and had an abortion. The procedure ended up almost killing her and left her infertile. Darrow was devastated after learning about the abortion and promptly ended the relationship. West's next romantic relationship was with her manager and attorney, James Timoney. The couple stayed together for quite some time, but by the mid-1930s, when West had become an established film star, they were no longer together. Timoney passed away in 1954. During the peak of West's Hollywood career, she had romantic encounters with stars like Steve Rossi, Jack LaRue, Max Beer, George Ball, and David Niven, to name a few. Once again, many of these men were younger than her, but that's exactly what she wanted. Mae's ego and a strong sense of independence made her recoil at the idea of being under the control of a man. West and Paul Novak. At age 61, West became romantically involved with a performer named Chester Rybinski, one of the muscle men who appeared in her Las Vegas show. Chester was a wrestler and former merchant sailor who at one point won the Mr. California contest. He was 30 years her junior and later changed his name to Paul Novak. After moving in with her, Novak remained by West's side until 1980, when she passed away at age 87, not long after having a stroke. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite memory of Mae West? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined Facts First as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the join button. By becoming a paid member of Facts First, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos. We pay special attention to comments from our members, and so do other viewers. So if you want exclusive content from Facts First or inside access to discussions with other community members, click the join button to get started for just $4.99. There are hours of members-only videos waiting for you, with new videos added every month. And we're actively working on bringing even more features to help fans like you connect with other members and get more of your favorite content. Just click join, and we'll see you inside the membership tab.